Hey guys, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be starting a very special video, and that is going to be a reading blog. Did I say blog? A reading vlog. I think I said blog. Whatever, it's not a blog, it's a vlog. And in this vlog, I'm going to be reading books picked out by two of my BookTube friends. I was looking for different ways to kind of revitalize what I do on my channel because some of the videos I am getting quite bored with. I got the idea I'll just ask a couple of my BookTube friends to pick out at least 4 books that I can read. Yes, I realize that was 5, but I'm not really actually showing numbers on my fingers. I'm just waving my hands around because that's what I do. Anyways, I asked them to pick out 4 books from my basically want to read list of my ebooks, mainly so that they didn't end up picking books accidentally that I don't have access to, and also because I want to pare down my ebooks. I have a lot of them, and I keep getting them, so I would like to read some more of them. So I had them pick out those books, and I'm going to be reading some of them in this vlog. I do not know, there are basically, okay, so yeah, there was the 4 plus one of the girls. She picked 2 extras in case my mood didn't want any of the ones she had picked before. So, and only one of the books ended up being a crossover. So anyways, I'm just gonna go over the books. So there's 9 books total. I'm probably not gonna read them all in this vlog, or if I do end up deciding to, I might do this as like a part 1 video. We shall see how this goes. This is kind of my first reading vlog where somebody else has picked the books. Again, I am picking them as I want to, because mood reading is a thing. So, but before I get into my book friends, even though you will have seen in the tagline of this video who has picked my books, before I get into all that, I'm going to say I do have some rules for myself. Basically, number 1, I can DNF these books if I want to. If it's not working for me, I don't like it, whatever, I am free to DNF them and go to something else. It is number 1 for fun that I'm doing this. It is number 2 not a strict requirement that I read these books, and number 3 I'm just trying to decide if I like these books, these authors, whatever on my Kindle. So, and if I can clean that out because I don't like certain books, all the better. Number 2, if I start a series, I do not have to complete the series, just the one book. I'm just setting these parameters so that my brain will not sit there and freak out about it, because my brain is stupid. So now that we're done with all the rules, I'm going to reveal the books and who picked them. So first girl is Lindsey from BFCG. She picked 4, and then she picked the 2 extras. So she went above and beyond the Call of Duty and decided to just pick some. So 2 of these are ones she means to read, and she just wants to hear my opinion about them. The first one is Illuminare by Bryn Shutt. I don't know how to say the author's name. Gorgeous cover. Yeah, I've been meaning to read this one for a bit. My mom has actually read this one, and she really liked it. I've heard it's similar to 6 of Crows by Lita Bardugo. I did like that book. I did not like its sequel, but I did like the first book. So it is similar in that manner. It's a fantasy. It's basically about a heist of some kind during some kind of festival, and it's like set in a fantasy type Venice. So I'm very interested by it. I also have its like short story sequel, Dawnsong. I can't say the word. Dawnsong. I do have that one as well, so I could easily continue. The next one that she also is meaning to read and wants my opinion on it is Water Princess, Fire Prince by Kendra E. Ardnek. I've had this is one of the oldest books on my list. I think I've had this ever since I got the Kindle app on my phone, which is in like 2021 or something like that. We're just not going to talk about how long that book has been sitting on there. This is Christian fantasy. I think it's Portal fantasy? I actually don't know. Is this a Portal fantasy or is it not? I actually know very little about this book. I know it's a Christian fantasy. And it's a romance, I believe. There's 3 books in the series so far. And I have all 3 of them, and they're pretty big books too, from what I understand. Beyond that, I don't remember anything about this in my research. I remembered it sounded interesting, but that's it. So this one will be a surprise. Okay, then this one, she reread recently, and she wants to hear my opinion on this. This one's a superhero book, so jumping out of fantasy, and that is We Could Be Villains by Megan McCullough? I don't know about the author's last name. I apologize. She wants to hear my opinion on this. This is a part of a duology. I do not have the second book, which could be an issue if I do like this. I do know this is something along the lines of the main character is a fan of a superhero movie franchise, kind of similar to Marvel, I believe, and then she realizes she gets roped in, she gets, like, kidnapped by one of the supervillains in the movies, and she realizes, oh snap, the movies are real. They're basically just, like, documenting their lives and making it TV. So it's kind of like reality TV, but they're making it as movies. It's an interesting concept. I've been very curious about this book ever since I heard about when the first one came out. And now it is concluded, so I could easily read its sequel. You know, easily. I have to have access to it, but yeah, I'm very interested to try this one. I do like superhero books, so we shall see. I did think that Lindsey would pick at least one fairy tale retelling, and I was correct. She did. I would also figured she would pick a Sarah Beran book, and she did that too, and that is Summer of the Summoned Sword by Sarah Beran. This is the second book in the I don't know what the series is called. Something about magic and music? Don't know. Anyways, this is the second book in the series, but she said I can read it as a standalone or read the first one book. It doesn't really matter either way. So I would probably just pick this one without reading the first book first. But yeah, I actually have this entire series. I think I managed to get this entire series on ebook, like, free, like, over several years, and I'm, like, insanely proud about that. It's just random fact, but yeah, I don't remember what the series is called, and I don't remember what this is a retelling of. It's a retelling of something I can't say. I know that much. It's like a more obscure tale, but yeah, I'm very curious about this one. She's hyped this series up a lot, so I really want to try this one. And her two extra books that I'm also going to mention, because the last one will segue into the next girl's books. First one is Married at Sunrise by Leialoha Humpherys. Yeah, this is a King Thrushbeard retelling, so again, fairy tale retelling. But since this is one of the extras, it's not like one of the higher ones, but I'm putting it on here because I may decide to be in the mood to read it. And it's basically set with a lot of, like, island Hawaiian type lore, and I am very much into Hawaii type things. I have been fascinated with Hawaii since I was a kid, so this is this is very much up my alley. So yeah, there's that one, and then the last one she picked is Rapunzel's Gambit by Mecham. So this is retelling for Rapunzel. It's one of my anticipated reads for this year. I haven't gotten to it yet. Obviously, it's more of a kind of villainous Rapunzel retelling. The cover is beautiful, and lots of people love it. I haven't gotten to it yet. I love Rapunzel retellings. Yeah, and this one, basically, she decides to join the dragon and being a con artist and traps knights in a tower instead of her. So, very interesting concept. But this segues into next girl's picks. I asked Celestria to also pick 4 books. And also, by the way, thank you very much to both Lindsey and Celestria for being willing to do this. I kind of just sprung this on them. I just texted them one day, and I was just like, hey, would you want to pick 4 books for me? And they were both so kind, and they just did it as soon as they could. So yeah, I'm very grateful to both of them for joining in on this kind of collab. Not that I picked books for you guys, but it's kind of a collaboration. Anyways, the first book Celestria picked for me was Rapunzel's Gambit. So literally out of all these books, I am shocked that this was the only one that they both picked. Out of all of the books I have, I was thinking there might be a couple crossovers maybe, but nope, there was just this one. So, I will definitely try to get to this one out of the extras Lindsey gave me. So, anyways, Celestria loved this book. She wants to know if I love it, so she picked that one. She also picked Wings of War by Grayce. Her thoughts were she wants to read it eventually and also hear my thoughts on it. This is the sequel series to the Elven Alliance series by Grayce. I was kind of waiting until all the books came out, but the author is going to be rapid releasing them, at least as of this moment in time, she is still considering that near the end of this year. So, but I am curious if I would like it, because this kind of is a next generation series. It follows children of the characters from the Elven Alliance series, and like this is several years in the future when kind of the big bad country that was giving them problems in the last few books in the Elven Alliance series, they're kind of now actually declaring war on them. So now they kind of have to go to war against them rather than kind of avoiding it like they were doing in Elven Alliance. And it has like a World War I feel to it. Yeah, I'm very interested in this one. I do want to try it. So I don't know about this one. Mainly, I think the first book would probably be fine to try. I don't think it ends on a cliffhanger. I know a couple of the other ones Tara has mentioned end on cliffhangers. So, but I don't think this one does. So I think it would be fine to read this one without having the others on hand. But yeah, it probably would be wise actually for me to read the first book before the others come out and make sure I like it. I mean, if I want to read them all back to back, I could always reread the first book. That is always a big possibility, and if I love it, I will not mind rereading it. Okay, the third one she picked is To Sway a Bard by Angela J. Ford. She picked this one because it has a cute cover and it's a standalone. So I really appreciate that, Celestria, because yeah, a lot of these are serious. This one's a clean romantasy, I believe. And the last book that Celestria picked for me was Unearth the Tides by Alissa J. Zavalianos. I believe that's how you say the author's last name. I really don't know. I hope that's correct. This one is on her TBR. She thought it sounded interesting. Wanted to hear my thoughts on it. I have read 2 books by this author. I've read The Earth Treader and Humpherys, and also The Earth Treader's epilogue, which is a separate short story. So I really like her stuff. I've been kind of hesitant to read this one. It is part of the A Classics Retold multi-author series. It's a retelling of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. I'm not a classics person, so I've been a little hesitant to read this one, even though I have it, but it's kind of one of those, like, I want to try it, but I'm also avoiding it. So I'm glad this is going to give me the kick in the pants I need to read it, because the cover is very intriguing. I want to know what that mirror and that tentacle have to do with anything. For all the books, as of recording this, I am reading Unearth the Tides, so I have started with that one. And yeah, we're just gonna go from there. I'll put in clips. I will try to give updates as I read these books, but I'm still new to vlogging, so it may be more just summaries of the books. I will definitely try to update in between reading certain books, especially if they're longer. I feel like that's going to be easier to do. Hopefully I don't find any duds, but we shall see. That is always the luck of the draw with reading anything. So yeah, I will catch you guys in the next clip. So I just finished my first book. I know, I should have given updates, but technically when I'm filming this, I started reading it before I started filming this, so I didn't stop to give updates while I was reading, so sorry about that. But I did finish my first one. This one was picked by Celestria, and that is Unearth the Tides, and I really enjoyed it. At first, I will say, I thought it was going to be very slow. I didn't know what was going on. Basically, the way the author writes, she's writing it, it's in first person, so it's all totally from Huxley's point of view, and at first, when I started reading it, I didn't know what was going on, and I was kind of confused by that, but then I realized as I went on, we're supposed to be, because we're reading directly from Huxley's point of view, and he has no idea what's going on. He's confused about things. When he's angry about things, you can feel that anger. You could also feel like his suspicions towards the captain, because the captain's he's a man of many enigmas. He's like totally mysterious. We don't really know that much about him. It gets revealed over time, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it by the end. It's one of those, it's a quieter story. It's more of a character story, but it's not so much that, I don't know, it's quiet in a way that it's not so much that it's slow and boring, but it is slower. There's not really any action aside from the very beginning when he's running away, and that's pretty much it. It's mostly just interpersonal drama and character growth. I really liked how the author writes nature into her stories. There were a lot of herbal references, because the captain of this submarine ship thing is kind of a apothecary, so he very much knows herbs, and the author used real herbs, real life herbs, along with some fantasy ones she made up. She has a whole like glossary in the back, which I thought was very interesting. My mom's very much into learning about herbs, so I've heard about some of these things, so I was very so I really liked how the author wove that in so that it made perfect sense, but then she also added in some fantasy ones that worked as well. And yeah, I just really like that, the way she describes nature, her settings, the way nature matters to the characters. I really like that as somebody who grew up around nature, really loves nature, is not a city girl at all. I really like it when authors manage to make me feel like I'm there and make me want to, you know, go outside and do things and really appreciate nature. I really like it when authors can do that. There's about, off the top of my head, there's 2 authors, Alissa here and Noelle Nichols, who wrote the Shadowscreed Saga, which is an Asian fantasy series. They do that extremely well. They are like really, really good at that. They're the 2 off the top of my head that do nature in such a way that is like really beautiful and really real. Also, what else oh yeah, I did, okay, this is something I have noticed with books that are set mainly on the ocean. I have noticed that I tend to find them when they're just floating around in the sea, very, very slow and boring. There were a couple parts that I thought were a little slow. Thankfully, this book clocks out at around 200, over 200, bit over 200 pages. So it's not a huge book, and I think that works in its favor, because if they had floated around on sea anymore, I would be like Huxley and just went out of the stupid ship, because you can't do a lot when you're on the sea. I read another series where they were primarily on a boat, and a lot of the times they were just doing stuff, and it was kind of dull. I will say some of those parts did feel a little slow. There were only about 2 or 3 when they first, like when Huxley and Monty first get on the boat and then recover from their injuries, and then they move on. But then the author jumps into more of the interpersonal drama between and the backgrounds of characters and stuff like that. So thankfully she moved away from just we're in the ocean bobbing around, not really doing much, because we're in basically like a submarine thing and we can't do much. So I was very thankful for that, because those parts were a little slow and I was a little iffy about that, but there was enough questions around the characters, around Huxley's history, things like that, where I was curious enough to keep going, so I managed to get past those parts. But if you're like me and you find seafaring adventures tend to be very anticlimactic, I would say keep going with this one, because get past those parts, because it does get better, especially once things get rolling with the character development and the reveals of things and just all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this book. As for a retelling of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, I can't really judge on that. I've never personally read the book, but I do remember my mom read it aloud to me and my sister when I was really young, and I do remember it was kind of dull. I remember there was a lot of sections of the book where they classified fish. I don't know if it must be because it's just an older thing and that's what they did in classics half the time. They just classified stuff. I don't know if it's just because it was a sci-fi and that's what he was doing for the scientific angle. I don't know. I don't remember like much about that book, aside from the fact that they spent lots of pages classifying fish and that was dead boring. So as for the retelling aspect between the two, I can't really judge on that because I remember nothing of the original book. I have no desire to reread the original book. I'm really happy Celestria picked this one because, in all honesty, I was kind of avoiding it. I didn't know what to expect. Most of the classics retold books, like, I have a few of them. Obviously, this was one of them, and I don't know, because I'm not a fan of classics. I think classics are overrated. Like, there are some good ones out there, but I've also seen others and tried to read others where they're just like, why? I don't get it. But, yeah. I don't know what I'm gonna read next. I kind of want to pick one of Lindsey's, but I don't know if I'm feeling drawn to any of them. I will definitely check back in when I have my official update on whether or not I'm going to, or like what I'm gonna read next. Yeah, I will check back in when I make that decision. Hello. Next day's update. So I picked a new book to read this morning. I picked To Sway a Bard. I'm currently 13% in, and I'm gonna DNF it. There's nothing bad about the book. It's very meh. I don't really care what's going on or what's gonna happen. I hope the ceiling fan isn't too loud, so apologies about that if it is. Anyways, I really don't, I just don't really care. There's a lot of okay, so this book, let me just tell you what this book's about. So this book is about two characters. Zula is a thief, and she's been hired to steal this apparently thing from the Troll Kingdom, which apparently is like gonna break a peace treaty or something. And our other main character is Neo, and he's like tasked with catching her and bringing her in. I think he's some kind of a sheriff. He's like the only person who can supposedly catch her, but he hasn't caught her yet. It's all very much like I'm being told a lot of this stuff, and none of it really seems to make sense for what I'm seeing. And there's a lot of, we jump places, like characters will just suddenly appear with no warning or disappear with no warning. I don't know. I've only read like, I think it's like the first 3 or 4 chapters. And I'm just not impressed. I don't really jive with the writing style. It's very, I'm not even sure, yeah, telling is probably the right word, but at the same time, it's very, I don't know, I hate to use the word basic, but it kind of is. I don't know, I'm just not connecting with the author's writing style. So their dynamic, Neo and Zula, I think is going to be kind of like a Sheriff of Nottingham Robin Hood type of thing, where one is constantly trying to catch the other. But I don't know. I don't really believe that Neo can catch her because he hasn't before. She has also this like magical ukulele. Apparently it gets her out of trouble. I don't know. It hasn't really been used yet in the where I'm at, so I have no idea what I can do. But I don't know. I'm not that impressed with it. I also is very, very insta-love. Like, I've been told he has fallen in love with her from tracking her down all these years, but I've only been told that, so from my perspective, it still just looks like he's instantly liking her for literally no reason. And she's literally, at the part where I stopped, she's literally just bumped into him, and she's, like, already having desires for him, and I'm just kind of like, you kind of just ran into him, girl. Literally. She's just, like, seeing him, and she's kind of all just, like, kind of already, like, I don't know, eyeing him, for lack of a better term. I'm not normally one who really goes off about insta-love and insta-attraction. I'm fine with both of them, if it makes sense for the context of the story, and the characters can pass it off as believable to me. Like, I just recently read a book where it was basically, on his part anyways, it was basically insta-love, and I believed it right away. But it was very believable the way that one was written. This one doesn't really feel that believable to me. But that's just my opinion. So I was going to continue to the, like, 20% mark, but the more I think about it, the more I just don't care. I mean, I could literally shut this book, put it down, walk away, and completely forget about all about it, and not even care what's going on. So yeah, that's not really a great. So I'm just gonna go ahead and quit because I don't really care, obviously, and I just don't think it's for me. I think this book could work fine for other people. It's just not to my taste. So yeah, I just now know that this author's writing style is not gonna work for me. So I can now know to avoid her books. So yeah. So I'll probably start a different one later. I think I'm gonna pick one of Lindsey's. I'm leaning towards Water Princess, Fire Prince. I think I'm gonna try that one. So I'll let you know, if and when I start that one, and yeah, that one or another one or whatever I end up picking. And yeah, so far from Celestria, I've had one really good one and one DNF, but
yeah, we're just gonna carry on, and I'll see what I like next. Hopefully the next book I will actually like. So, yeah, I don't want to have too many duds in a row, but we'll see. I just want to add about This Way of Bard, because I completely forgot about this just 5 seconds ago. The formatting of this book is weird. There are no indentations of the paragraphs. Here, let me show you a page. Let's see, focus on the page. There. See how the paragraphs are not indented and they have these weird spaces between them? I don't know what I'm looking at here. This looks like something you would get off a fan fiction site. I don't know what is going on with that, but it was driving me nuts. I was kind of ignoring it, but at the same time, it doesn't look professional, and indie books already have a problem with people looking down on them as it is, even nowadays, even though it's become more mainstream to do that. And I don't know, it just doesn't help when your book's not formatted correctly. So it just doesn't help the case for any indie books. So yeah, that was just another thing I wanted to add in. I'm doing a terrible job updating this log, and also ignore the mess of like towels hanging everywhere and stuff. It is what it is. Anyways, I finally rained though. It was like really super hot the last few days, like 90s. It was delightful. It poured for a bit. There were puddles. It was great. Anyways, I thought I'd update you guys on some of the books. I left off with the last clip. Pardon me. I left off with, I was going to start Water Princess, Fire Prince. I did start it that day, that I said the same clip when I had DNF'd This Way of Bard. I barely lasted 7% into this book before I DNF'd it. Okay. It's like a Christian fantasy, it's a portal fantasy. And from the first line, I knew I was in trouble with this book. Basically, I don't know what the main character's deal is, but she is insufferable right from the get-go. Like, the first line she speaks, which is the first line in this book, is just kind of like, I did not like her attitude. Just to clarify my position on this character and the way it all started, basically, the book opens with her talking to her friends in the real world, talking to her friends as they're going to the pool, and she's complaining to them because she's very short, which is mentioned extremely a lot in this book. Like, I don't even know how many chapters I read. 3? 4? Something like that in the 7% mark, and it was almost mentioned that she was shorter than 5 feet, barely 5 feet. That was mentioned, like, I kid you not, probably 5 times in that length of time. It kind of got annoying. But anyways, she's talking to her friend, and she says that since she's so short, her swim bag apparently was like on her top shelf or something, and some guy offered to get it, or got it down for her, and she's offended. I don't know why. I myself am like I'm 5'1", so, and I have problems getting things off top shelves, you know, like in grocery stores and stuff, so I have problems with that, and I've had people, guys mostly, but also women too, who are taller than me, offer to get things for me, and I don't get offended by it. I just see it as they're being a nice person. So I don't know why this girl was taking such offense to a guy getting down her bag, but she was just like, oh, I should get it myself, and I don't trust men, which she's 15. There can't be some kind of past, like, trauma with men too much in this book, at least with, like, a love interest type, because she's only 15, okay? Like, how many boyfriends can you have at the age of 15? And, actually, probably nowadays, probably a lot. But this book wasn't written then, so, also, she was just so insufferable. She would kind of do something that I would think, okay, maybe she's not so bad, and then she'd go right back into insufferable territory by saying something. She also had this, like, chip on her shoulder. I don't know, because when she's in this fantasy world, she's talking with the people, and they're telling her why she's there and stuff like that, because of some prophecy, things like that, so, and she made this comment that really rubbed me the wrong way. She was like, it was something along the lines of those newer fantasy books. You know, they always have these vague prophecies and these quests and stuff like that. And she was like, of course I don't read those. I only read older books, and I quote like Pride and Prejudice and Alice in Wonderland because I am so not like other girls, and I am just so much more well read because I only read old books, not those modern books. And it's just, I mean, I get there is a stigma for that of like, mainly like, I guess mostly classical readers. I grew up in the like homeschool region, more the conservative end, I guess. I'm not so much that way anymore, but when I was being homeschooled, it was kind of more that angle, and they were always pushing for like classics and like looking down on modern books. And I don't know, that comment in that book, that just really rubbed me the wrong way. Also, she knows like taekwondo and archery, and she's so quirky. I mean, not really quirky, but kind of along those lines of the whole, I'm so quirky, I'm not like other girls, I'm an insufferable brat that everyone falls down and worships. I didn't get to that part, but they kind of are, because she's like this prophesized water princess, but I don't know. The girl was insufferable. She was a main character I was supposed to be following and like apparently liking. I don't know how, I mean, I'm sure somebody out there likes this character, but I don't know why, and that's not me. I hate characters like that. They're so annoying. And also just that grating irritation about the whole I'm well read because I don't read modern books thing. That kind of really, really annoyed me, because then it's kind of like, well, then books being published now are basically irrelevant to you. So why do you like want to be an author or something? Because now your book will be irrelevant because it's modern. And I just hate that so much. I literally slammed my Kindle shut so much that my mom was like, what's wrong? And I just started going off about this book to her and my sister. It must have been an entertaining 5 minutes for them. Well, I went off about this book and how I was not picking it up again. So yeah, that was a major fail. Lindsay, if you end up reading the book, I hope you like it better than me, because I did not like it. So the next book I picked up, well, I haven't finished this one, but I have started it. I picked up Illuminare instead. And I'm 30% of the way in. I paused because my mom, who has read this book before, she heard I was reading it, so she wanted to reread it and kind of catch up to where I am so that we could like talk about it and stuff like that. Because I mentioned some of my problems with this book. Not really problems, because I'm liking it. It's a very detailed world, so it makes it for slower reading. It also makes it for it's a very more I don't know how to say it. It's more in depth, but it's not like a super deep book, at least so far it is. And I've only read 3 chapters plus a prologue, so kind of 4 chapters in. I'm on chapter 4, but I haven't read any further because I'm waiting for her to catch up. I like the way she writes. It's not flowery, but it's more detailed. It's more rich, I guess you could call it. I'm really enjoying this one a lot better than Water Princess, Fire Prince, that's for sure. But it has a lot of backstory, a lot of history. This is definitely a book I would reread. I would have to reread in order to catch everything, because there's lots of family names, war mentions, this empire took over this empire, and then there's these princes who are running around, but they're not princes because the royal line doesn't exist anymore. Then there's this prince over here in this place, and then there's these different people, and then there's this guy who's immortal. Apparently he's immortal because he's supposed to be chronicling the world's history for like until the end of time. Like, what a terrible job. Mostly I'm just confused by the whole history and like family lines, royal families who are not royal anymore, things like that. I'm assuming some of this will get cleared up as I read. I'm assuming also a lot of it I would have to re-understand, re-evaluate upon a reread. Yeah. So that's where I am with that book. I really like the illustrations throughout too. Even I thought the illustrations were only in the like hard copies. Apparently they're in the ebook too, because several of them have already shown up. I really like the illustrations. I think more books should have illustrations in them. Sorry if this isn't the best angle in the world. I'm trying not to get so much of a glare, and this is the one spot in the new area that I got here. So that's what we're going with. Anyways, I'm adding this clip in because I tried to explain Married at Sunrise after I was talking about Illuminare in that previous clip, and I had just finished the book and I hadn't had time to process it yet, so I was doing a terrible job, and a lot of my thoughts on it ended up not really being true, so I thought I'd just redo that clip here. So anyways, Married at Sunrise. Yeah, this one was picked by Lindsey as well. Okay, so this book, okay, I really wanted to like it. I only sort of liked it. I did like the ancient Hawaiian setting. I did like all the cultural references and stuff. I've been fascinated with Hawaii since I was young. So, yeah, I really, really enjoyed those parts. I also think the cover is very pretty. I did also really like how kingdoms are established in this rule. At least initially, there's apparently just islands around, and if the golden wizard puts a magical stone on a particular island, whoever finds it, whether they be peasant, royal, good, bad, whatever, whichever person finds that stone first, they then become the ruler of that island, which then becomes a kingdom. I thought that was super cool. I really liked the idea. It was very creative. However, those were about the only 3 things I really liked about the story. My major problem was the 2 main characters, Helani, however you say her name, and Jax. Jax, who is also Captain Fox. So, I didn't dislike the characters, but I also didn't really like them either. They kind of just were there. They were just there. They also seemed like very much the same person. They almost had like the exact same thoughts and almost the same like they also had like the same doubts about themselves, which is fine. You can do that very, very well in a story, to have 2 very similar people who have similar thoughts about themselves, thoughts about the world, things like that. Even some personality traits. These 2 didn't really have the same personality traits. It was more just like their thoughts and why they were closed off to people and stuff like that. You can do that in a book and have it work really, really well. This one did not know how to do that, at least in my opinion. It felt just very much like they were the same person and their thoughts were almost the same. And even if you do have people with like shared experiences, good or bad or otherwise, if you have that type of characters, I don't know, I kept waiting for them to bond over those things, to share those stories with each other, you know, both of them share stories with each other and bond over that, and then that's how they get their understanding, that's how they would fall in love, that sort of thing. But it never really came. Like, she would tell him stuff about herself, but he would never do that the same to her. So it wasn't very equal footing there. And then he would mention some things and she wouldn't tell him certain things. It was like, I don't know. I didn't feel like they ever bonded over those shared things, because those shared thoughts and feelings and stuff were just kept in their head. I just don't know. I don't know why. Felt like a very missed opportunity to me. So I was very confused by that and really kind of irritated, to be perfectly honest. And the other thing I didn't like, I don't like enemies to lovers romance. Okay, let's just be honest here. I don't like that trope, and I have a feeling I'm gonna have a problem with King Thrushbeard retellings in the future then, because this is very much an enemies to lovers trope. I can like a few. I have liked several in the past. They have to be written in a way that I don't... Most of the time, this one was not written in the way of they just hated each other's guts and then suddenly fell in love, and I don't know why. It wasn't written like that, so that was helpful. However, it still kind of had those elements. And then, I mean, thankfully though, when Helani did figure out that Jax and Fox were the same person, thankfully she didn't flip her top too much. I will give credit to the author for that one. At least she did not flip her top as much as she could have, and usually works in these, you know, identity trope things where it's like, you lied to me, I can never trust you, sort of thing, and then like, I don't know, 5 chapters later they're kissing, sharing their love for each other, because it's like, okay, you revealed it way too late in the story, so now I can't believe that they're getting back together, but whatever. Anyways, that is just a pet peeve of mine. Also, I felt like there were very strange parts put in, like, I don't know, parts where you could have shared more character depth, character motion, character growth, or just anything. It was like weirdly skipped over or just glossed over, and we just moved on to something else, and I'm just kind of like, why'd you choose to focus on this, but not that, which sounds more important to me, but I don't know. There were also weird time skips in between things of, like, when people would be, like, moving around and stuff like, when people would be moving around from place to place, there would be weird time skips that I would think, there were over here, no, suddenly we're over here, and I'm like, wait, how'd we get over there? There were weird skips like that. There were just weird time skips in general, where it's like, you could be there for a week, and then suddenly the next paragraph is like 3 weeks later, and I'm just like, wait, what? Where did the time go? So there were some weird things like that. There was also a bizarre character arc for Jax where he was selfish, and aside from using Helene, the main female lead, to wanting to marry her to use her to get a kingdom and to humble her, which is like not great, but I don't know. Then the author tried to add this like arc at the very end of the book where it's like he was like excessively selfish, and then he like needed to learn that, but it was like in some weirdly tacked on thing that just felt like it came out of nowhere and was kind of bad, so bad almost that I kind of cringed at it. It was kind of like, oh, this was terribly put in here, terribly executed, and I don't know why. I just don't really know why. If you wanted to show he was selfish, aside from the way he wanted to get his kingdom through her, if you wanted to show that, you need to show it in other ways throughout the book, because pretty much aside from that, he was a decent guy. He just wanted to do right by his people that he had taken in after the Pirate Wars, and he wanted to establish a kingdom for them so that they wouldn't be just seen as a refugee camp. I don't see a problem with that. I really don't see what the problem was with that. So, I don't know. It just didn't land for me the way it was written. It was fine. I would never read it again. I don't think this author's writing style is for me either. So I don't think I'm going to continue any more of this author's works. That's kind of my thoughts on that one. So yeah, this is kind of my fix-up clip. So yeah, now we're just gonna jump onto the rest of that clip. I don't know what I'm leaning towards. Probably another light one, so maybe Summer of the Summoned Sword? Maybe that one. Maybe Rapunzel's Gambit. I don't think I'm quite ready for Wings of War or We Could Be Villains, but I don't know. I'll have to see how that goes. Other than that, yeah, that's the update for now. I will try to do better. Yeah, no promises here. No guaranteed promises about updates, but I will try my best. Okay, once again, I've done terribly with updating throughout while reading these books, but things in life came up and I just didn't have the mental capacity to do that, so here we are. Anyways, I thought I'd update you guys on the last few books that I read, and then I'm just gonna wrap up this vlog because it's getting kind of long. I didn't get to all of them, but I have, I was planning on just ending this vlog when I read all of them, but I don't think I'm gonna have the time for that. I have a bunch of arcs I need to read. I do want to still read the few books that I didn't get to. Maybe I'll just prioritize those next month as ones I want to get to sooner. I thought I'd just update you guys on the last 2 books I did finish, and then I'll do kind of my wrap up of each of the books, their ratings, and their final ratings and all that. So, anyways, I did finish Illuminare, and this one I'm gonna need to reread because I liked certain elements of it, mainly a few of the characters and the kind of light versus darkness theme, which I always like that theme, but there were a lot of things I did not like about it. I kept getting hung up on like I said in a previous clip, like the history stuff. I kept getting hung up on that, and it kind of really hampered my enjoyment of the book overall. Also, I just didn't connect with the characters. Like, I liked some of them, but I didn't connect with them personally, and the actor dude, I do not see the point of him, in all honesty. He was my least favorite character. And the heist situation, I thought it would be one thing because this book is compared to Six of Crows. I honestly wish authors and publishers would stop doing comparisons unless the book is actually really close to something, because with comparison titles, I don't know, or at least like in marketing, don't do the comparison title things, because if it's not like that, it raises expectations that don't exist. Because this one was compared to Six of Crows, I saw at one point. It's not really anything like Six of Crows except for slightly the darker tone. That's about it. even the heist situation is not the same. So I was very let down about that, because when we got to that part, I was just kind of getting annoyed, which is not really a good sign. I'm gonna throw this book in here as well, because I did read its sequel novelette, I think it is called, Dawnsong. I have to think about how to say that name. I did read this one as well. I liked this one significantly better, mainly because it was more of a character-focused thing rather than the vast history of a world that I had no context for. That was another thing. I had no context for this history. It was just there, and I was supposed to just roll with it, but also at the same time, I had no context for it, so I couldn't get into it or understand it. So Dawnsong was a little better in that respect, because it didn't go into any of that, and we just followed mostly one character as she went through a certain thing. I enjoyed that one more than Illuminare, but I would definitely still reread Illuminare. I want to see if I'd like it better now that I know what I'm getting myself into. And then I read Summer of the Summoned Sword. This one is a retelling of an opera of which its name I really cannot say. Longren? That's probably incorrect, I'm sure. This one is part of a series as well. Seasons of Magic? I think that's the series name. This is technically the second book in the series, but I'm actually glad I started with this one, but I'll get into that later. I enjoyed this one. It was very fun, very light. I do wish Elsa and Lowen had a few more scenes of them getting to know each other together. Then I would be a little more believable of their romance and how they're more connected and stuff. I know most of this is just they're choosing to love each other, but I don't know, sometimes in their romantic chemistry I felt was a little lacking. I've just thought a few more scenes of them just like talking or getting to know each other would have helped that a little bit. I did really like their friendships with their respective friends though. Celesta, who I read her story before, she gets a romance into Cracker Soldier, which is a Nutcracker retelling. I've already read that book and I enjoyed it, so I liked seeing her from this perspective before she met Alex in that book. Yeah, so I enjoyed that, and also Lowen and Sylvester, or Syl, the fawn he's a friend with, their bromance was great. I really liked their dynamic. They were funny. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was just a light, fun read, but with enough danger and peril and like questions around Lowen's name thing and like just the inevitable. You just know the inevitable will come when Elsa will ask him what it is, or somebody will, and he will just have to leave, and then what will happen after that. So yeah, I really enjoyed all of that. But yeah, it was just a light, fun read. And in saying that, I'm glad I read this one instead of the first one first. Since Lindsey said that either this one or book one to start with, I started with Summer of the Summoned Sword, but then I decided to read book one, which is Spring of Sparkling Song. So I'm just kind of adding this one in, like Dawnsong. I'm never going to get that title right. As just kind of like a bonus book since it's connected. I did read this one. It's a retelling of the Magic Flute. I did not like this one. It's a very basic plot with very annoying characters. See, the plot being so basic wouldn't bother me if I actually liked the characters I was following. But see, Tamrick and Mina, the two main characters, I found them both extremely either very prideful, extremely bratty, just kind of insufferable. I really didn't like either one of them, and with their backstories and stuff, they were characters I could have liked and I could have been rooting for them to overcome their problems and become better people, and I could have at least sympathized with them even if I didn't like them per se. But I didn't like them like at all. Even when they were changing, I still didn't like them. So yeah, that didn't work. So I did not like them. I did not like Avi, the side character, who was kind of like Tamrick's friend, even though Tamrick looked down on him a lot, which was kind of also rubbing me the wrong way. But I do also kind of understand his point of view, because Avi is irritating. Anybody who ever said he was annoying in that book, I agreed with them, because that types of characters like that, they walk fine lines with readers or viewers if they're in movies of they can either be charming or extremely annoying. He leaned a little too much towards the extremely annoying part for my taste. Other people have liked him, I've seen in reviews, but I did not. So yeah, that one unfortunately was a miss. It wasn't part of this But since she mentioned it and I decided, hey, I'll go read it when I was still in the mood for a light read, unfortunately I didn't like this one. I did like Summer of the Summoned Sword though. So yeah, those are all the books I read in this vlogs, but since it's getting so long, I'm gonna wrap it up here. And yeah, I'm now going to give my final ranking. From Celestria, I read 2 out of her 4, and the one I liked the least was To Sway a Bard by Angela J. Ford. I DNF'd this book at 13%. The other one I read of hers was Unearth the Tides by Alissa J. Zavalianos, and this one I gave 4 stars. And then for Lindsey's, out of her 4 plus her 2 extras that she picked for me, I ended up reading 4 of them. His favorite on this list would be Water Princess, Fire Prince by Kendra E. Ardnek. I DNF'd this book at 7%. The next one that is lowest on this list is Married at Sunrise by Leialoha Humpherys. I gave this one 2 stars. Next one that would be my next lowest on Lindsey's list would be Illuminare by Bryn. Shutt? I don't know how to say the author's last name. I apologize. Also, as a piggyback off of Illuminare, I did read its sequel novelette, Dawnsong. And the final one that I would rate the highest on her list that I read was Summer of the Summoned Sword by Sarah Beran. So piggybacking off of this one, I did also read the first book of this series, Spring of Sparkling Song. I gave this book 2 stars. But yeah, this was a really fun vlog to do. Thank you once again to Lindsey and Celestria for picking books for me. This was really fun. I got to some books that I've either been putting off or just wasn't like mentally getting to. Like, those are the ones that my brain would always skip over when picking books. So yeah, got to some newer releases, got to some really older ones that now I have gotten rid of off of my Kindle. That would be Water Princess, Fire Princess, you know, if you need context. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing this. Please let me know down below in the comments if you enjoyed watching this and if you would enjoy me doing this again. If anyone's interested in seeing me do more vlogs like this, please let me know down in the comments. I will try to do better at the B-roll stuff, but I'm not very consistent at it. I'm trying harder though. I hope you did enjoy the rain clip that I did put in, because it rained again today. I didn't catch any of it on film, but it did rain some more today, so I'm very excited about that. I love rain. And we could really use it right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please leave your comments down below. Always love hearing from you guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you next time.